A new budget-friendly scope cam that was designed for airsoft, but is it good enough for paintball? Let's find out. What's up guys, it's Nightmare, and today we are going to be reviewing the, where did I put it? Yes, the Scope Cam Lite from Runcam. If you've watched my videos over the last 2 years or so, you will know that I am no stranger whatsoever when it comes to Runcam and the cool action cameras that they sell. Lately, I've been using the Runcam 2, the Runcam 4, and the Runcam Airsoft Edition, and today I get to review the Scope Cam Lite, which is supposed to be a budget-friendly version of all of their zoom cams. But before we get into the actual review of this thing, I want to tell you about some of the cool key features of it. First off, budget-friendly, it's only $99 US with free shipping. Come on, you can't beat that, right? And to get that low price, they definitely went with an all-plastic construction. You can power this thing with the internal battery or even hook it up to an external battery, which is what I do during those larger scenario games. It uses a 40mm lens, which they claim is best for 30 to 70 meters. But luckily, the 40mm lens is protected by this removable cover. 2 screws pop out, and off comes the cover. No more worrying about your lens taking a direct hit anymore. Integrated rail mounting system, so no longer do you need a mount to actually mount the camera to your marker. You just loosen the thumb screw, mount it to your marker, and tighten the thumb screw once again. Now, when I first picked up this camera, I was looking at it thinking, well, it's extremely light. The full body is made of plastic, and already I can tell you there's one downside to this. It is not water resistant. Unfortunately, there isn't really a full-bodied zoom cam available on the market right now that is water resistant. So if you are going to pick up one of these, or really any zoom cam right now, it's going to turn you into a fair weather player if you want to be able to capture the best footage. The Scope Cam Lite uses the exact same battery as all of the other zoom cams that they have to offer. Already, we were sitting at about an hour runtime on the Runcam 2, and after running a few tests, the average runtime that I got was about an hour and 20. But really, I mean, those were ideal conditions. We were in my house, ambient temperature. Now you start playing on colder days or even hotter days, and you're going to see minor changes in that battery one way or the other. I mean, one thing you could always do is run an external battery pack, and that's what I do. Those long games, those scenario games where you're out there for 2 hours, your battery is not going to last. You don't want to be changing a battery every hour, so you can always take an external battery, hook it up to your marker, and run the USB cable right to the camera and eliminate the need for any sort of battery swaps mid-game. So while we're on the topic of charging your camera or playing with it with an external battery hooked up, that provides another problem on its own. Sometimes the USB cable can get banged around or shot or anything else really, and suddenly the next thing you know, your cable's dangling. So you're thinking to yourself, all right, just take my USB cable, plug it back in. But the next thing you know, it turns out that the charging port snapped off the board itself, and now it's sitting on the USB charger. I know that happens. I've had it happen. I've even talked to other YouTubers who've had the exact same issue happen. I'd love to see that issue resolved in future run cams, or even a stress relief built into the door. So extend the door a little bit, so that way when the cable goes in, the door is actually holding onto the cable itself. Now, the integrated built-in rail system is a fantastic idea on paper. This works great for airsofters because they can actually mount this on the top of their guns, adjust their hop-up so that way their BB is always in frame of the camera. In paintball, we're not that fortunate. We always have to deal with an arc. So basically, you're going to need to find a way to mount this to your marker to compensate for ball drop. Now, a lot of players like to mount their cameras to the top. I like mine on the side. It gives me more range to play with when it comes to ball drop off, but sometimes those extreme long shots, that's not going to work. You still need to angle the camera down, so that way when you aim your gun upwards, your camera's still in line with the target. So as much as I would love to say that this is a great idea, it is for airsoft. It's not the greatest idea for paintball. Now, if you're one of those players that likes to play with a scope mounted to your marker and you angle the scope, you can find a way to attach this to the scope itself, maybe with some scope rings, and that way you know whatever you're looking at through your scope, your camera's gonna see the exact same image. Even when I mount my camera to the side of my marker like this, there's still one more thing I need to overcome. And that is that my shots will always be to the left of my frame. So what I like to do is find a way to angle in the camera about 1 degree. 1 to 2 degrees to kind of keep the center of my shot in line with where my paintball is going to go. Luckily, I'm able to achieve that using a O-ring underneath one of my rails. On my MG100, it uses Mo rails, so I'm able to detach the back end of the rail, slide an O-ring underneath, and tighten the rail back up to kind of give me just a little bit more of an angle, so that way my shots are lined up. I'd love to see that feature incorporated into the camera itself, so that way I wouldn't have to modify my marker to the camera. I could modify the camera to the marker instead. So for those of you who are using a quad rail system or a rail system that you can't change at all, unfortunately, you're going to come up with ways to compensate for the arc of the paintball yourself. The first time I went out there and actually shot at my target using this camera, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But then when I reviewed the footage, I realized that the background was far more in focus than my target itself. And immediately at that point, I was like, you know what, this camera's not going to work for paintball. Your target's not going to be in sight whatsoever. You're going to go out, you're going to play, you're going to be disappointed with the footage that you come home with. Luckily, while I was filming the original review for this, I went back and I was like, well, what if I adjusted the focal point of that lens myself? So I did that. I took the front shroud off, I rotated the lens, and then using the live view from the app, I was actually able to adjust the focal point to where I was roughly going to shoot. Now, it's not perfect, but with a little bit more time and a little bit more practice, I could actually dial it in, so that way my target would be right in focus. Now, without adding any sort of angle compensation, I was able to get this thing to work on my marker at a sweet point of about 50 to 60 yards. That was where I was getting the best picture. But again, you're going to want to adjust it for your needs and how far you're going to be playing. Not everybody plays the same ranges anymore. And also, I did all of my testing with first strikes. These, of course, were not round ball paintballs, because I feel like this camera is not good for round ball whatsoever. The ball drop of a round ball is much greater than that of a first strike. So it really comes down to, would I recommend the Scope Cam Lite for paintball? Yes, but if you're willing to put in the work and the time and the effort to get this thing to work for you, it's going to be fantastic. I'm going to continue to tinker around with this for the next little while, and hopefully I'll be using this in my next first-person video. Out of the box, this will not work for paintball. And I've been in contact with RunCam, and hopefully we can come up with a design that would work perfectly for paintball. I've got a few ideas in my mind, so if you have any suggestions for what could make a perfect zoom cam, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can add any of those to my email to RunCam. So if you would like to dabble in the world of zoom cams and scope cams, the Scope Cam Lite actually might be a decent entryway into getting used to how these cameras work, how to mount them, how to adjust for ball drop. But if you're a seasoned player and you know roughly how far you're going to be shooting your first strikes, I would highly suggest the RunCam 2. The mounting system on that camera is much easier to mod for both the arc of the paintball as well as bringing the camera a little bit closer to your barrel, so that way your barrel and your shot line up perfectly when you look at your zoom cam footage. I'll leave links to both of those down below as well, so that way you can check them out, you can compare them yourself and find out which one works best for you. I really hope you found this video to be slightly informative, and I hope you can take something away from this. If you went on to enjoy this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and make sure you slam that subscribe button to keep yourself notified. And yeah, make sure you hit that stupid little bell, because we both know that YouTube is not going to send you my notifications unless you have that bell rung. I don't have an upload schedule currently because, well, life is hectic. So yeah, if you want to keep informed with my videos, make sure you hit that bell button so that way you can be notified when my videos drop. Guys, I will thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all on the next one. But until then, Nightmare out.